All right. I think that we are live. Just wanted to make sure. Yes, we are. Okay. Welcome everybody back to Koi Sports Corner. It is indeed Koi here, doing the analysis and reaction of today's NFL games, week 2 to be exact. I am back on. He is no longer a special guest. He is my co-host today. It is none other than University of Nebraska alum, former offensive line, played at a high level, big dog, Todd Peterson. Welcome to the show, Todd. How you doing, man?
I'm doing pretty good, Cole. How you doing, man?
No, it's been doing.
I know you've had better days as a 49er fan than today.
I've been doing.
That was a rough one. That was a rough one. Nobody saw that coming. No, I definitely didn't see that
We're
coming.
gonna get into that.
Especially with the performance that they had against the Jets Monday night. I didn't see that coming. I would have never guessed that in a million years.
Oh, we're gonna get to that one because we're also gonna get to your Chiefs scare today in Kansas City against those Bengals. Because again, we said we were talking a little bit before the show started,
Mm-hmm.
and I said if we went for one bonehead move by that guy on the Bengals, number 33, I believe,
Yeah.
we might be singing a different tune. It might have been a bad day for the Chiefs as well. But let's go ahead and start where I don't think a lot of people look at this as an important game.
Mm-hmm.
The Browns right here in the state of Florida, and the Browns and the Jaguars game. Um, it was a slow moving game. It wasn't a lot of scoring, but it just seems to me that Trevor Lawrence, he's a great player. He's not a bust, but it just seems like he needs to know when to throw the damn ball away. Instead of
Yeah.
trying to always make that play, always trying to look down, always trying to make that play, you're going to either get one or two things. You're going to end up getting injured because of your offensive line, and those defensive linemen are going to get to you eventually,
Mm-hmm.
or you're going to throw it in harm's way trying to make a play down the field when sometimes there's nothing down the field. He
Mm-hmm.
got sacked in the end zone for a safety. It's like you got to know where you're at. You're backed up in your own territory. You
Mm-hmm.
can't be pressing. Oh, I got to make a play. I got to make. You got to be if it ain't 1-2 read, you got to throw that ball away because
Yeah.
defense is
I
coming.
I agree with that. I
Go ahead.
think Trevor Lawrence is trying to do too much right now to keep them from falling to 0-2. But him trying to do much was one of the major reasons that they fell to 0-2. I still think he's a good quarterback. I still think he's on the verge of a breakout. But the play calling for him as well, the receivers, man, the receivers aren't getting open for him. The offensive line can't protect from the backside. So I mean, when you're a starting quarterback, you got to invest in some keys around him. Yeah, they went and got the kid out of Buffalo, Gabriel, but is his name Gabriel? Gabe Davis. The Gabe Davis.
Yep.
But there was a reason that he's no longer in Buffalo. So, given the fact that he's no longer in Buffalo, that they actually let their number one and number two options go, kind of sends you into a question of what kind of people they were in the locker room. You know, what kind of teammates were they? Because today I didn't see him trying to offer any help. Even on the pass that he missed, you know, there was no point. My bad, my bad. You know, he just walked off the field and kind of shrugged the shoulders and let's move on. Which in football you got to have a short-term memory loss. But when you got a young quarterback and they brought you in here to be that guy for that young quarterback, to be that experienced guy, you have to show that experience.
I I I couldn't agree more. I
Yeah.
yeah. I it Doug Peterson won a Super Bowl with the Philadelphia Eagles, so I'm not gonna say he's a slouch as a coach, but you gotta know who you have at the quarterback. Trevor Lawrence is not Nick Foles. I'm
Hmm.
sorry, the guy that you actually won your Super Bowl with, he's not Nick Foles.
But
He's a
keep in
little bit
mind,
more
Nick Foles
athletic.
Keep in mind, Nick
Go
Foles
ahead.
was also the backup quarterback.
Yeah, he was the backup. Carson Wentz was a starter. But
Yes.
my point is that in my opinion, Carson Wentz or Nick Foles is not Trevor Lawrence. Trevor Lawrence, he has a little bit better ability to be able to escape, but he
Hmm.
has a cannon down the field as well. I mean, a cannon. So you just gotta know. I just feel like you need to give him a lot more help with ETN in the backfield. Draw up more plays for ETN. Get it to where the defense are on the heels for ETN being able to pop, or maybe switch it up with another back. But
Hmm.
when they kind of know that Trevor Lawrence is going to drop back 35, maybe 40 times a game, the defense is just going to, I mean, they're going to hook their horns back. They're just going to be coming after him. And
Yeah.
it gives you, I feel like Jacksonville has no other dimension. It's like they are truly one dimensional right now with Trevor
Yeah.
Lawrence from what I've seen in the game. Gabe
Yeah.
Davis, like you said, to speak on your point about Gabe Davis, I seen that body language. I see that he doesn't, he got his money. He obviously got his money because he went to Jacksonville. He did not, Buffalo did not pay him. So
Hmm.
I feel like, he got his money now. He went to the playoffs every year while he was in Buffalo. You know what? If we get to the playoffs, great. If we
Hmm.
don't, I got my money. That is the feeling of his body language of passes that he missed or he didn't really go hard for, or eh, I wasn't impressed with that body language. But moving on to any type of language, I mean, what language are we speaking in the Chargers Panthers game? Chargers
The
won,
Chargers,
everybody.
the
Go
Chargers
ahead.
are exactly what I thought they were going to be. They're a defensive driven team that runs the ball. That comes from coaching experience and knowing the talent that you have. Yeah, you got a superstar quarterback back there that's going to be a superstar in this league, but you're protecting that quarterback by running the ball. Jacksonville can't do that because Jacksonville doesn't have the offensive line to do that. Because even Travis
Mm.
Etienne, Travis is one of the best backs in the league to me when it comes to his talent. He's one of the best backs in the league. But when you don't have a crease to run through, you're not getting screen passes. Last year they really did well with screen passes with Travis Etienne. This year they've gone away from him for some odd reason, looking downfield. And coming considering last season, it was when they really should have been looking downfield. They've actually reversed game plans to where when they should have gone downfield with when they had Calvin Ridley, they should have gone downfield a lot. Now they're going downfield and they don't have anybody on the other end. Nobody that can get open after 15 yards. So you got to form the screen game.
Yeah, I agree with that. I will say this to finish off with the Browns Jaguars game because I had kind of moved on to the Chargers. I didn't do a good transition, so my apologies there. But one thing I will say with the Browns Jaguars game is that as long as they know that ATN is not making them think twice about full throttle coming through that line. As long as
Mhm.
they know that, I'm talking about the Browns, any team, then the Jaguars will be that third or fourth team out of the AFC South. You know how we said we thought maybe it'd be the Titans last week?
Mhm.
Based on the competitiveness of the Titans against the Jets, I I do believe that it may be the Jaguars if they stay one dimension. It
Um,
really may be.
with considering the AFC South right now, man, I don't see the Jaguars making it to the playoffs.
That's a good point there. Speaking of not making it to the playoffs, Chargers beat up on the Carolina Panthers. I don't know if the Panthers have a playoff berth within sight, within reach, within a few years. What do you think? What do you think about the Chargers embarrassing the Panthers at home?
Was it really an embarrassment though?
It
Was
was
it
a
really an
spanking
embarrassment?
at least.
Yeah, but was it
It was at
really?
least a spanking.
Did you not expect that?
Hmm. You expect you expect for people to at least come out a little bit stronger at home, your season opener, but they are the Panthers, to your point.
Hmm. Yeah, but when you say coming out strong at home, not a lot of teams did that today.
For their season opener, very true.
Not a lot of teams did that today.
Speaking of that, did not do that today. Baltimore season opener against the Raiders.
Man.
You talking about an upset? I gotta say this real quick. I was very surprised as to the reason why Baltimore lost. It was not necessarily because of Lamar Jackson.
Hmm.
It was because of their defense. Their defense could not stop the Raiders. I kept going back and forth, and I'm like, the Raiders are about to score again. The Raiders are. And this is at the end of the game. I'm like, they're about to score again. They're
Hmm.
gonna take the lead. There's
Hmm.
not much time left. Now you're gonna make Lamar be a miracle worker here with about a minute left in the game. That wasn't happening. What did you think about that upset from the Raiders? The way they took care of the Ravens at home.
I think the Ravens are on they want an upset alert anyway because they had such a game against Kansas City where they poured it all out and left that field defeated. They were on the, I mean, they were on the verge of shutdown and not winning this game. Just consider it doesn't matter who they played. It could have been anyone. It could have been the Carolina Panthers, and they could have been in trouble because they had such a high last week in Kansas City, and those guys are so disappointed in losing that game. Man, it's kind of hard to get pumped up for the next game, especially when you consider them playing the Raiders, who were one of the worst teams in the league last year.
Indeed.
So I think they had a mental letdown. They seemed like they controlled the game pretty much in the first half, but in the second half, when things got serious, when Vegas was doing whatever they wanted to do, hmm, now you're shell shocked because now you're in a dogfight, a game that you didn't expect to be in.
Man.
You're in a dogfight, and you fell short in that dogfight. You were on such a high for last Thursday night when you played Kansas City that you came in, you lost to Kansas City by a toe, literally. So now you're going to who were the worst team or the second worst team in the AFC West last season. So now you think you're going to walk in, it's just going to be a walk in the park. It's going to be cupcake. Nah, nah, that doesn't work in the NFL. Any given Sunday is for real. Any given Sunday. And if you don't act like a professional on any given Sunday, you will lose.
In the immortal words of Chris Berman, that's why they play the games.
That's why they play the
That
game. That's why they play the game.
but I'm gonna keep an eye out for Baltimore's defense because
Hmm.
if they have another outing like this at home, in particular, against a most would consider at least a bottom feeder. I mean, Antonio Pierce got them to play up a lot last year to a little bit better than probably what they actually were, but
Hmm.
they were kind of considered a bottom feeder. Let's be honest. So I'm
Yeah.
gonna keep an eye out for that Baltimore defense. To be honest with you now.
Yeah, we will, because we got to see how they respond now, how they bounce back, and how the rest of the season goes to them. Because falling down 0-2, when you got Super Bowl admirations, you got the MVP from the season before, and then you start the season 0-2, and you lose against two AFC West teams, one that you can potentially play again in the playoffs. Oh, that can get ugly quick.
Present some headaches there in the future, boy. I could
Yeah,
clearly see that. Speaking of
yeah.
headaches today, man, I had the biggest headache before 4 p.m. today, seeing that my 49ers were down the vast majority of the game. Well, they were down the entire game against
Hmm.
the Vikings, excuse me.
Hmm.
Um, I'm going to go ahead and say it right now. Brock Purdy is not the answer. He was good the first couple years of his career. I do not, based upon his interceptions. He said, "Well, that pass got tipped. This pass got tipped." His ball placement, where he places the ball, a lot of the time, it's herky jerky. It's sometimes in areas to where it's like, why are you throwing it there? Sometimes he gets
Yeah.
bailed out by Dewan Jennings. Sometimes he gets bailed out to where it's like, oh, it's a nice
But
throw. But in reality,
you got to ask yourself, is it Brock Purdy or is it Raheem Morris who has an ace lined in the sand when it comes to Shanahan? You remember you guys lost to them last year as well.
Raheem Morris is not with the Vikings though. Raheem Morris is with the Falcons.
Okay, who's the head? You're right. There's a defensive coordinator now for the
Oh, you're
Vikings.
talking about the former head coach of the Dolphins. You're talking
Yes,
about
the former
Brian
head coach of the
Flores.
Dolphins, Flores. Flores has it
Flores.
out for Shanahan because they beat you guys last year as well. So maybe he just has Shanahan's number because you can't
The
say it's
Vikings
Brock
beat us
Purdy.
last year.
Yes, the Vikings beat you guys last year.
Oh wow.
Yes.
Oh, they had Kirk Cousins. Well, I'm gonna say this: you had Kirk Cousins. You
Mhm.
had Kirk Cousins, so I can expect it to be a little bit more of a competitive game. You had Sam Darnold today, man.
But
We got here's the thing on our defense, we got turnovers from Fred Warner. We got good defensive play from our defense. When it got to Brock Purdy, you get picked off two possessions in a row
mhm.
and not really good picks. One could say that it was not his fault because it got tipped up and like hot potato and it got caught. You're not putting the ball in the right environment for it not to get picked. I mean he's just herky jerky, and
But when you're
sometimes
playing
that
from
herky
behind,
is
when you're playing from
hold on.
behind like that, go ahead.
Hold on. But sometimes that herkiness, like I said, sometimes it gets bailed out. So you
Mhm.
don't see it, you don't think about it. It's not highlighted in the highlights on all the shows we watch. It's not. But when you are watching the actual game, it's like, Brock, what were you thinking? Go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead, big guy.
No, I can't say it so much on Brock Purdy because you guys were down early. So when you're down that early, you're forced to go you're forced to be one dimensional. You're forced to have to throw the ball. So I think he's just trying to extend plays and make plays that aren't there because you guys were down. Plays that he would normally make because no, most of the time you guys are up. You guys are never down like that, especially to a non-superior team like Minnesota. But stop there. Minnesota also had a receiver with over 130 yards receiving and a 97-yard reception. What about your
Yeah.
DBs? Not Brock Purdy.
I
What
will,
about your DBs?
that's the only suspect part of our defense for me is the
Fred
back end.
Warner, Fred Warner is a top five linebacker. He's gonna make plays. But what about your DBs?
Yeah, I'll say it. That's our weakness. When what was our Achilles heel in the Super Bowl?
Yep,
What was our Achilles heel?
it
It
was
was
your
the back
DBs.
end. It
Yes.
was not Bosa on the line. It was not Warner in the linebacking core. It was our secondary. We need one other decent corner and one other decent safety or free safety. We
Uh-huh.
just we just can't find all of them at the same time. It feels like we just
Yeah.
can't, man. And then I don't know how far we're gonna go, man, without having a decent back end for a team if they're on running on all cylinders. Let's say a Detroit Lion team, a Philadelphia Eagles team that's running on all cylinders now, as in and their receiving core. And let's say AJ Brown is healthy in Philly. Let's say Amon-Ra St. Brown is healthy in Detroit. Man, with that back end that we got, it makes me nervous. It
It
makes me
should.
nervous, man.
It should.
Yeah, I ain't
It
gonna.
should.
I ain't gonna lie.
It should. Because one thing that you guys established a running game, and that running game is dominant. Even when you're playing from behind, you still got to control the clock a little bit. I don't think you guys did a good enough job controlling the clock because the whole time you're playing from behind. So it's like a panic mode. And then you're playing from behind against the Minnesota Vikings. So imagine the feeling in the locker room and on the
That
sideline. I mean, it'll be different if you guys are playing from behind and it's the Philadelphia Eagles, but you guys are playing from behind and it's the Minnesota Vikings. So I can't say it's all on Brock Purdy. That was a team loss, starting with the coach. Starting with the coach. Because that defensive coordinator has Shanahan's number. They beat you guys last year, and they shouldn't have beat you guys last year. Same situation.
that's true. I did forget about that. But what I don't think I will forget about from this past week is the most lopsided upset of the entire weekend, and we're talking about the Dallas Cowboys
Mm.
getting what's a nice term? What's a nice
Donkey
term? I'm
stomp.
talking about
Donkey
I'm
stomp.
talking
That's
about monkey stomp, double
yeah.
stomp at home at home, and you're not playing against a top tier quarterback, in my opinion, in Derek Carr. You're not.
No.
If you're playing, I'm just saying to be fair to the Dallas Cowboys, you're playing against Pat Mahomes, and I see that score. Hey, I'm not surprised. You're playing against Josh Allen, and I see that score, even if it's at home. I'm not too surprised. You might be playing even against Justin Herbert when he's really dealing. Believe it or not, I still wouldn't be surprised. You you give up 44 points at home to Derek Carr,
And
man. You,
at one point in that game, Derek Carr was 10 for 13, 201 yards. Yeah. Now don't not everybody looks at Derek Carr like he's a slouch, man. Derek Carr is an actual good quarterback. He just needed a really good offensive coordinator. And I think now that they have everything clicking and Alvin Kamara back healthy, they're gonna be tough to beat. Alvin Kamara makes a world of difference. He's a top-notch running back. He's a top five running back. And he can do it all. First to third down, he can do it all. Run out of the backfield, catch out of the backfield, catch screen passes. He can run between the tackles. He can run outside the tackles. So when you got a running game like that, that's gonna make it easy for Kamara. And it's gonna make it easy for David Carr.
yeah, but Derek Carr, in my opinion, respectfully, I'll disagree. Respectfully, I don't think Derek Carr is a decent enough quarterback. Even when he had a decent enough line last year, his line wasn't hurt last year. Now you can say Alvin Kamara was not fully healthy or whatnot, but when
Mhm.
you are a decent enough quarterback, you got to be able to get wins on your own without a decent running back. And Derek Carr last year did not show that to me. He lucked out this year by getting the Panthers first, and then he
Mhm.
got a sleepwalking Cowboys team that just was like, we know we gonna win when they stroll up in here. We know we gonna beat them, so we ain't even
Mhm.
really got to practice or anything. It didn't even seem like the Cowboys practiced. It didn't seem like they were up for it. It seemed like the Saints were up here as in
Mhm.
preparedness, and the Cowboys were down here. Okay,
Mhm.
there's no other way around that shellacking that we seen earlier today. Then you said something last week about Coy, but what would you consider Micah Parsons? I said we put his hand in the ground. I consider him a lineman, but technically he's a linebacker, right?
Yes.
Uh, if I'm not mistaken, in football, the player that mirrors the running back is usually the linebacker. It's usually the linebackers that mirror
Or a
the
safety.
the, the
Or a
slots
safety
or
if you
sometimes the fullbacks or the running backs, right?
Mhm.
Alvin Kamara had 4 touchdowns today. 4 touchdowns, two of them rushing. I mean, and one of them was like a little shovel pass from Derek Carr that he took to the house about 55 yards. Where's your
Mhm.
linebackers? You can blame you can. I don't blame the back end on that one right there. I don't blame Tre'Davious Diggs. I don't blame anybody on that back end. But that linebacking core, that was embarrassing. Letting Alvin Kamara get 4 touchdowns, man. You already getting embarrassed at home.
It was very embarrassing, but I can't say that you and I'm speaking about Michael Parsons here. And one thing that I would do as an offensive coordinator, especially when they keep him on one side, I'm going to run away from him. They kept Michael Parsons on one side instead of putting him in the middle, instead of letting him be a floater. He ended up being a defensive end outside linebacker today. And that's how he played.
Oh.
And they kept the ball away from him. But I've never thought that Dallas had a great defensive backfield. Never. Even with all the interceptions that they had last year, look at all the points that they gave up. They have guys that jump routes. When Derek Carr knows they have guys that jump routes, what do you think they're going to do? Double move you all day long. What did the
Yeah,
Saints kill
pump
them on
faking.
today?
Oh, yeah.
Double moves, pump fake goals, slant goals. Killed them all
Yeah.
day long. Double moves. You can't jump routes in this league. You can't do that and survive. You can do that every now and again and get lucky. But with an experienced quarterback like David Carr, you cannot jump routes.
Derek.
Derek,
David was
you're
his
right.
brother. I
You're
know,
right.
I know. I remember
But
him.
Derek Carr.
Um,
Derek Carr is an experienced quarterback in this league. He's seen every coverage that you could possibly throw at him. And when he knows you're going to jump a route, he's going to double move you all day long.
we'll end this topic in agreement. There is Derek Carr's experience. I'll give you that for him. He does have experience. He's seen a number of defenses. It's not like you're gonna run a defensive scheme that he has not seen or know how to possibly work around. So
Mhm.
I'll level with you there. We gotta speak about. You said you heard it here first. Jets are gonna go 0-2. They did not go 0-2. I did not think Aaron Rodgers was gonna let them go 0-2. I still don't believe in the Jets like that. but I did not think he was going to let them go 0-2. But it was not excitement. It was not excitement from Aaron Rodgers. It was more excitement from the running back.
Mm-hmm.
It just seemed like he was the fireball that really kind of took over the game. I
Mm-hmm.
think Aaron Rodgers maybe had one touchdown pass or something like that. But it wasn't like Aaron Rodgers lit it up and he threw for 350 yards and three touchdowns or anything like that. I think that running back had two touchdowns of the 24 points. So he
Yep.
had 14 out of the 24.
Yes.
Ah, I'm,
But even when you
ah,
think about last year, the Jets did win a couple games just by running the ball.
facts.
Even when they had Zach Wilson at quarterback, they won a couple games by controlling the line of scrimmage and running the ball. Right now, Aaron Rodgers looks his age. Aaron Rodgers isn't doing anything Aaron Rodgers like. You know, Aaron Rodgers was a difference maker when he was in Green Bay. He made something out of
Excuse
nothing.
me.
I think him missing the entire season last year really did something detrimental to him because he's a year behind. The game has gotten that much faster in just these 12 months.
Couldn't agree more.
Yeah, so
I could
now
not agree
mentally,
more.
just because he's Aaron Rodgers, he'll catch up. He'll catch up, but right now he's still adjusting to the game, and they're going to be okay. Are they going to be a Super Bowl contender? No, no, but they'll be okay. They'll compete in the playoffs. They'll get it in the playoffs. They may get a playoff victory, but make it to the Super Bowl, I don't see them making it that far. Not with that quarterback.
Oh, you think they're gonna make it? So you think they're gonna make it to the playoffs, the Jets?
Yeah, I think they can make it to the playoffs. Their
There's
schedule, their
seven
schedule,
spots.
their schedule is favorable for them.
There's seven spots. I'm just thinking out loud. There are seven spots in the playoffs. Four division winners automatically get those four spots.
Mm-hmm.
If you're talking about the AFC North, they're going to have at least two people in the playoffs from there.
What two?
Chiefs are going to get in from the West.
Mm-hmm.
The in my opinion, the Texans will get in from the South, guaranteed from at least those two division winners. I feel like,
Mm-hmm.
and then based upon what you're saying, that means the AFC would produce three playoff teams. The AFC East would because I definitely think Miami and Buffalo are getting in. So
Miami's
for the
0
Jets to
2.
be able to, huh?
Miami's 0 2. Tua should never play football again.
Miami's 1-1.
Oh yes, they did squeak it out last week against the
Yeah,
Jacksonville.
squeak.
Squeaked by, squeaked by.
They did.
But
They did.
I don't see Miami making it to the playoffs.
I'll level with you there. If Tua comes back, if Tua comes back and he plays the rest of the season, they'll make the playoffs. If Tua does not come back in these next few games, they're not making the playoffs. But I don't think the AFC East is going to produce three playoff teams. So that's why I'll put more of my money on the Dolphins than I would the Jets. That's just
Really?
me. Oh yeah. Oh, I don't trust Aaron Rodgers. I don't trust Aaron Rodgers to finish every game,
But you
nonetheless
trust
the entire
but you trust
season.
but you trust Tua to finish the game?
Well, I
To finish
trust
the
Tua
season?
that Tua will come. I will say this: his brain injuries that he has, I mean those concussions that he has, is very unfortunate or whatnot. But one thing he does have on his side, he has youth on his side to be able to recover back from those things and at least try to give it a whirl and come
Mm-hmm.
back and be decent enough to get the Dolphins to the playoffs. I think he is at least capable enough to be able to do that.
Mm-hmm. Uh,
I don't think Aaron Rodgers can consistently score you two touchdowns when he may really need to for you to get that game that you really need in order to
mhm.
get you into the playoffs. I just don't think that Aaron Rodgers can do that this year. You
I think
know?
Aaron Rodgers is going to get better as the year goes on, like he always has. Yes. Yes.
Okay.
He's going to get better as the season. You got to remember, man, the last time he won a Super Bowl in Green Bay, weren't they 500 at one point when he's telling everybody, relax, relax, relax? He's going to get this. He's going to get this going. He's too good of a quarterback and too good of a legendary quarterback to not get it. They're still working through things that they didn't have a chance to work through last year because of his injury. They had preseason this year and they had camp this year. So he's still working. It's still a work in progress. I would not be surprised if they actually won the division.
I would be.
You would be.
I'm saying it here right now.
So
If
who do
the
you think is going to win
Jets
that division?
won the division, If the Jets won the division,
Mhm.
I would be shocked.
Right now, who do you think is going to win it? And this is
Buffalo.
just going. This is just going off on a limb because everybody only has 2 games in.
I'm
Buffalo.
gonna ride with Buffalo. I'm gonna ride with Josh Allen. I'm gonna ride with Josh Allen all day long for the AFC East. You heard it here. I'm picking the Bills to take the AFC East. But before we move, talk about more division talk. Let's get through the rest of these games, man. Tampa Bay wins on the road in Detroit. Not many people thought that they were going to go into Detroit and win. They played them last year in the playoffs in Detroit and lost. Very interesting that Detroit plays the last two teams. Two of the teams that they played in the playoffs last year were their first
Mhm.
two games this year. That
Yeah.
doesn't really ever happen. I don't know why or who did that to them, but if they just seen you last year and y'all beat them, well,
Mhm.
chances are that they're gonna come with a probably decent enough game plan to beat you guys this year. But the Rams did not, but the
Mhm.
Bucks did.
Yes.
So I was very surprised at that. I was pleasantly surprised at that. But before we get to Dan Campbell's questionable call, what did you think about today's game in Detroit?
I think it was a well fought game, but I do think well, Dan Campbell is one of those Russian roulette guys, man. Either he's gonna get killed or he's gonna kill. So when he goes on it on fourth down, it doesn't matter. He hasn't changed since he's become a head coach. He's gonna live and die by his decision. And I think a lot of his decisions are analytical. And the one that he made today, 4th and 8, nah, I don't think that was analytical. That was just going off a hunch. He wanted that game. And he thought his guys were going to get them 8 yards, and he thought they would win that game. It was just a fault game. They didn't want to lose to Tampa just as bad as Tampa didn't want to lose to them because Tampa
You're
lost 12 in the
preempting me.
playoffs. Yeah. So I mean,
You're
today
preempting me.
Baker Mayfield played today like a man possessed. Baker Mayfield played like he was not going to lose that game. He just made one more play than Detroit made.
After getting sacked 4 times by Aiden Hutchinson, got to
Yes,
give Baker Mayfield
four and
credit
a
of being
half,
able to.
four and a
Yeah,
half.
got to give him credit for being able to get up off of that turf and being able to still, stick your head out there and throw that ball. But I was saying you preempted me because I was talking about the questionable call with Dan Campbell. Now I said questionable call or not. I say not because the score was 20-16. It
Mm-hmm,
was 4th and 8 from about the 18-yard line. You
mm-hmm.
got only a minute and 12 seconds left. So what do? Kick the field goal, be down by
No,
1 point, kick an
no,
onside kick? You're
no,
not gonna get it. So
no.
in that moment, in that particular instance, in my opinion, you have to just put all your marbles to the table and
Mm-hmm,
go for it. And like we're gonna either win it on here or we're
mm-hmm,
gonna lose it here. Because
mm-hmm,
either or, all the other particular possible scenarios are not in our favor. So we might as
mm-hmm,
well go for the juggler while we got the ball.
mm-hmm.
What do you think?
So why would that be a questionable call?
No, that's what I said, questionable call or not. But I'm
Oh
saying
no,
because a lot of people are saying it was a questionable call on the telecast or whatnot. But I'm saying not
no.
based
I don't think
upon.
that's a
So
questionable
you're in
call at all.
agreement.
Yeah, definitely. Because if I were a head coach, um, a field goal ain't gonna do us no good. We're still down by one. With the new kickoff setup, how can you kick an onside kick?
Hmm.
What are the odds of you actually getting an onside kick with a new kickoff setup?
Next to none.
Kind of slim and none, right? Kind of
Yeah.
slim and none. So you have to go for those six. Then that's the only thing that's going to benefit you. Three is not going to benefit you. Three is going to have you walking off with the same look on your face as you walked off with anyway. So give yourself a chance. Let your team know that you believe in them. Give them a chance. If they fail, you got to go back and reboot.
And that is the time when you show your team that you believe in them. That
Mm-hmm.
thing that Antonio Pierce did last week, 4th and 1 on the opposing team's 45-yard line with only about 6 minutes left.
Somebody talked
That's
him into
what I
that.
can say questionable. That's what I
Some
can consider questionable.
Yes, and somebody talked him into that because Antonio Pierce, being a defensive minded coach, you don't do that on your own side. You don't give them the short field because you went for it on fourth down. You don't do that.
Right. Well, yeah. Well, I guess that was his logic, but in my opinion, he should have went for it because he only had 6 minutes left and he didn't have a top 10 defense. So in his
Yeah, but
defense, and he
You still got 6 minutes left. It's different than Detroit when they were inside 2 minutes. You got
Yeah,
6 minutes left.
yeah, but with Antonio Pierce's thing is you pin them deep. That's what I mean by not having a top 10 defense. You pin them deep, and your defense gave up 90, basically about 90 yards for
Yeah.
the touchdown. I mean, for the field goal, and you couldn't even afford to give up at least a field because you were already down by 6. So that's my point. Is like, I understand what you're saying when you say 6 minutes left in the game, but if your defense is stout, then you're probably going to get that ball back, and then you'll be able to possibly get better field position to possibly score. But if it's not a stout defense, guys, we don't want to rehash this from last week, but we got to touch on that to just show you guys the correlation with the Dan Campbell is a little bit different, from where I'm coming from. So
Mm-hmm.
there are different nuances in decision making on fourth down in the time period as well. I think
Mm-hmm.
Todd can agree there. The
Definitely.
amount of time can possibly sway you to maybe not make the best decision because you're looking at the
Yeah.
amount of time that's left. So to be fair, I can understand where you're coming from there, TP. That's for
Yeah.
sure.
And other than Aiden Hutchinson, I mean,
Oh,
Detroit didn't stop Tampa Bay all day, other than Aiden Hutchinson.
no, not at all. Not at all, man. That he was. You talking about he reminds me of Max Crosby, Aiden
Mm-hmm.
Hutchinson. He keeps his motor going. His
Mm-hmm.
motor never stops. It's not like he
Mm-hmm.
takes a down off when he's in the game. It seems like every down that he is in the game, it's just a constant motor. It's a constant flowing. It's a
Definitely.
constant. And that just go back briefly to the Raiders game. That is one of the things that really disturbed Lamar throughout the game was Max Crosby getting that pressure, being up in his face, being
Mm-hmm.
relentless with that pressure and trying to sack him. So
Mm-hmm.
it's something too that with having a motor like that. They lost this game. The Lions lost this game. But if Aiden Hutchinson keeps up with that particular motor, he's on his way to being at least in the top five finalists for Defensive Player of the Year, in my
Well,
opinion.
he had 4.5 sacks today. Everybody else got to catch up right now.
Whew.
So imagine if he just has 1 sack a game for the rest of the year. That's 15 more games plus his 4.5 right there. So that's 19.5 sacks. If he just gets 1 sack a game for the rest of the year,
Which is very possible.
easily,
It's possible.
easily, easily, it's
Yeah,
possible for him to have another 4 sack game. The kid is good.
absolutely.
The
Absolutely. And
kid is good.
he did that against not a shady offensive line. He didn't do
Yeah.
that against the Cincinnati Bengals offensive line.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, he didn't do that against the Carolina Panthers offensive line. To be fair, he
Mm-hmm.
did that against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers offensive line, which is decent enough. So much
Yeah.
respect to Aiden Hutchinson for that right there. I had to just speak on briefly the Patriots Seahawks game, and I just wanted to highlight Jared Mayo because
Mm-hmm.
yes, the Patriots did lose in overtime, but they were competitive to the last darn moment. Like I watched this consistently throughout the day, the clip of the game, and I'm like, wow, he's getting these boys out to play. They are trying to really, and they're playing smart. They're playing with control. They're playing with all of the things that you want them to play with. So I was really impressed with his competitiveness getting
Mayo
his
is
team out to play.
Mayo is he's a player's coach. And when you can get those guys to come out and play as hard as they did, because they played hard last week as well and
Yes,
fell
they
short. So with the talent that they actually have on that team to get the best out of those guys, that's why they're successful right now, because it's the coach. He's coaching these guys to think that they can run through a brick wall. They don't have the most talent in the AFC East by a long shot. But these last 2 weeks they have been very, very, very competitive against two good teams.
yeah. I mean, you beat the Bengals and you beat the Bengals and then you
Mm-hmm.
take the Seahawks to overtime.
Mm-hmm.
That's pretty decent. That's
That's
pretty.
pretty
That's
decent.
yeah. I can agree
That's
100%
pretty decent.
there.
That's getting those boys to believe something that they didn't even know was possible. Because looking at their roster compared to anybody else's in the NFL, everybody expect New England to be a bottom feeder.
Absolutely.
But they beat the Cincinnati Bengals, who took us to the limit today, Kansas City,
Yes.
and then they
The
lost in
Bengals.
overtime against Seattle, who will be another playoff team. Hey man, Jared Mayo's doing his thing. I applaud that guy. I didn't
Same.
expect that because I thought it would be the same game plan. I thought it would be the same coaching staff as Belichick because he coached with Belichick for so long and looked up to Belichick. But he's actually changing things. He's actually changing things there, and they're going in a new direction. Not only that, but it's a new pedigree. Yeah, the pedigree came from the system, but he has a different mind and has a mind of his own. And I think he touches players in a way that Belichick could never touch players.
Yeah, it seems like the players are a little bit more feel like things are a little bit more personable there. Seems
Hmm.
like they're more livelier on the sidelines. I was watching a couple of clips and I said I think the guy's changing the culture for the better and
Yes.
making the team a little bit more encompassing for free agents maybe to come there as
Yes.
opposed to in the past they weren't looking to come there while Bill Belichick was there for the most part. You know, maybe because of Tom Brady, maybe to get a Super Bowl ring real quick, but they weren't really looking to stay with New England long term. Any big time free agents, at least, from what I could
And,
remember.
and with Mayo, these guys are having fun. You can see the fun that they're having on the sideline. They're having fun by making big plays. They're not scared and coached in a scared way to where they have to go out there and perform. These guys are having fun and they're going out there performing and deserving their check at the end of the day. And I think that's one thing I can say about him and why I call him a player's coach. Because when you can have those guys play and have fun and also take it to another level to where these guys are really competing, and I mean can go in any game and actually win that game. That's huge.
No, that is. When you stumping
That's
with
huge.
two when you are dealing with two competitive teams and not two bottom feeders, it ought to be said something. Something ought to be said about that.
Hmm.
So that's why I wanted just to mention. I know he lost or whatnot, but that's why I still wanted just to mention him and give him his props there. Speaking of giving props, man, I gotta give props to the Arizona Cardinals, man. I picked them
Oh,
today. They are the reason
wow.
why I may win my pool tomorrow. Is
Hmm.
because nobody else picked the Arizona Cardinals in my pool, and
Hmm.
that tied me with the top guy in my pool. And so I gotta give props to Kyler Murray, man. He looks healthy. He looks vibrant. He looks
Hmm.
like he knows what he's doing. He knows the offense through and through. He seems like he has a good rapport with his receivers at least. Maybe he did some throwing in the offseason with Marvin Harrison Jr. My God, they look good today. I mean, the game was over. I don't care what nobody says. That game was over in the first half. It looked like the Rams were defeated, to say the least. What do you say? What
Yes.
do you say?
I can't say that it looks like he has a real good off season by working with Marvin Harrison Jr. because judging him from last week, Marvin Harrison Jr. was wide open for a game-winning touchdown, and he didn't look at him. And Kyler Murray blamed that or said that it's not his job to actually find Marvin Harrison who's wide open. He has to run the play that's being called. Now, what I think happened today, Kyler Murray took ownership and used his eyes. He wasn't just focusing on the first or second option. He's opening the field up because obviously from last week, Marvin Harrison wasn't his first or second option. But when you have a kid on your team like that, you cannot say it's because the play isn't called for him. That's why you're not going to him. You got to look for him. You
I
got to look
agree.
for him. And I think today he looked for him. I still think Kyler Murray will struggle with his teammates, not with his play, with his teammates, because I still think he's a little childish. And that's why he didn't take ownership last week and put it all on the coordinator. Because if you, as a starting quarterback, especially as a veteran starting quarterback, there's no way you can come and sit at a press conference and say it's not my job to look for Marvin Harrison Jr. The play has to be called for him. Well, 90% of the touchdowns that are scored in the league don't come from plays that are called for guys. It comes from check downs and from second and third reads.
Improvisation. A lot of
Improvisation.
times.
What did he do today? Improv. Improv.
Oh, big time.
Big time.
Big time.
Big. So you mean to tell me
That
those two
that
touchdowns that Marvin Harrison Jr. called, those were plays that were called for him? No, he scrambled for like 10 seconds on one of them and found him.
yeah,
He improv.
yeah. Well, I mean, let's be honest with this Kyler Murray, He was also the same I think only got he's got to be the first NFL quarterback that the Arizona Cardinals actually had put in his contract about him not doing the video games and him actually having to study and show that he studied for the
Wow.
the playbook or whatnot. Yeah, I believe this was last year or so, or the year before when he was dealing with his contract talks, and that was a big hoopla about they put in his contract about him being more attentive and his knowledge of the playbook and learning that, and maybe not so much into the video games.
Mm-hmm.
So if you got if a actual team got to put that type of language in your contract, maybe they took it out. I think they took it out after all the uproar and the backlash. But if they got to initially feel like they got to even put that in your contract,
Mm-hmm.
your maturity level, I have to concur with you on that. Your maturity level has to be a little bit questionable
Mm-hmm.
if they got to do that.
Yeah.
But I can't say that he ain't balling. I can't say he didn't look good on the road against Buffalo. My goodness. I mean, 1 minute left in the game, and then that's when you knew that that game was over.
Mm-hmm.
Today's game, halftime, you kind of felt the game was over. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? Because he was wheeling and dealing today
Yeah.
against those Rams. So
I'm
I'll
disappointed
say
in the
this.
Rams. I'm
I'll
disappointed
say
in the
this.
Rams because I expected the Rams to be a lot better. Yeah, I know they got a lot of defensive injuries going on right now, but I still expected them to show up a little bit better than they did today, especially against a division opponent.
They know them.
They know them. You got to play them twice a year, and you've had to play them twice a year since you guys joined the same division. So I expected a lot more out of them. I mean, that's borderline a rivalry game. They're division rivals. They're in your division. So you know you have to see them twice a year. So you prepare for them. Those are the teams that you prepare for in the off season that you know you're gonna have to play them twice a year.
But to be fair to the Rams, you don't got that same team that you had that you were beating up on the Cardinals every year with. You
Mm-mm,
darn sure ain't got that same defense. I'm
mm-mm,
just gonna be honest.
mm-mm,
Floyd, Donald is retired. You do not. Ramsey is gone. You do
mm-hmm.
not get that same defense that you had when you were just mollywhopping them every single year, twice a year. So when people
Yeah,
see Arizona versus LA Rams, they already knew to pick the Rams.
yeah,
Now, that's what made me stop a minute. I had seen my poll, I was putting in all the picks, and I was like, wow, nobody picked the Cardinals. Nobody picked the Cardinals. I said, I'm gonna pick the Cardinals because I got a feeling that last week against the Bills was not an omen. It wasn't a coincidence. I mean, it wasn't a just a lucky type of competitiveness with a big time team against the Buffalo Bills. I thought it was real because he looked like he was really knowing what he was doing, like he was really firing on all cylinders, Kyler Murray. And then this week, it showed again to an
mm-hmm.
actual victory this time.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I think if my 49ers, believe it or not, I think if my 49ers act up and Brock Purdy continues to deteriorate, in my opinion, it's a battle for that first place between Arizona and Seattle for me. It ain't just
I agree.
Seattle. It's not gonna go automatically to Seattle to me. I
Yeah,
just yeah. I gotta give Arizona that credit. They're they're
I
they're
agree with
they're
you.
playing very competitive in back to back weeks.
Yes,
So
I agree with you there 100%.
uh, got to get to your Kansas City Chiefs
Mm-hmm.
before we get out of here. Man, this was a scare at Arrowhead. Some would call it Burrowhead, but it still stayed Arrowhead today by the skin of their teeth. They end up winning the game 26-25. Questionable call. Well, some would say it's questionable call, but if you know football, then you know clearly on the replay the guy got there about a second and a half early on the
Mm-hmm.
wide receiver. He already bumped him right before the ball gets there. If you do that in the NFL, that's pass interference,
Mm-hmm.
unfortunately. So, yes, a high pressure situation. Yes, at the end of the game. Yes, fourth down and all that good stuff, or third down. I think it was third or fourth down. So it's basically the ball game,
Mm-hmm.
so to speak. I think it was 4th and 16. So I
Fourth
think
and
it was
16.
the ball game.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, but that lets me know that Joe Burrow. I won't say he has Patrick Mahomes' number like that because he didn't win today.
Mm-hmm.
But when it comes to coming out to play against the Chiefs, it's like Joe Burrow when he's healthy. It's like he digs into another level with trying to beat them Chiefs.
Yeah.
Like that was a Herculean effort to no avail,
Hmm.
but that was a hell of an effort, man. My goodness.
But did you expect anything less from a Chiefs Bengals game? Look at the last 6 games that we played them as well. Joe Burrow has been the quarterback. They all have been decided by one score. So did you
Wow.
really expect anything less? I expected to be a dogfight. I expected it to be a good game, especially after they lost last week against New England. And I think they only lost to New England last week because they were looking ahead. And that's why they lost to New England last week because they're looking ahead to play the Kansas City Chiefs in the Arrowhead. Burrowhead, no, that's out the window now. That's out of the window. You can no longer call, nobody can ever associate Arrowhead with Burrow ever again because the last 3 times that he's been in Arrowhead, he's lost.
That's
So
true.
everybody hangs their hat on because Joe Burrow is the only quarterback that's beaten Patrick Mahomes 3 times. Well, now it's 3-3. Now it's 3-3. He's the only active quarterback that's beaten him 3 times. Active. But now it's 3-3. And if you're going to beat us any year, last year would have been the year. This year we did this, and Patrick didn't even have the best day. Who had the best day was Isaiah Pacheco. They couldn't stop Pacheco.
It
They couldn't
could.
stop him. And I mean, this guy was getting 5 yards a pop. Now I think we went away from him a little bit too
Yeah,
much towards the end of the first half and towards the middle of the second half. And then we started getting him back in. When we started getting him back in, that's when we started controlling the line of scrimmage, pushing the ball where we wanted it to go. But I never had a doubt that we were going to win this game, even when we had a minute left and we were down by what 2 at the time, and it was 4th and 16. I thought some way Patrick Mahomes was going to make a play for us to get those 16 yards and we were going to win that game. Luckily, the Bengals DB made that play for us. Bonehead play. But they wanted to beat us so bad. They wanted to
they
beat
didn't have
us
enough
so bad.
patience.
Yes, you make foolish mistakes when you're anxious for something like that. They're so anxious to beat us. That's why he made that mistake. He was there a whole second before the ball got in there. Now, had he not gotten there, Rashay Rice catches that ball for a first down.
That's true.
Had he not gotten there.
Oh,
So it's a
I'll
catch 22.
disagree. I'll disagree on a number of fronts. I'll push back on a number of fronts. I definitely thought on when it was third down and they sacked Pat Mahomes to where it made
Mm-hmm.
it 4th and 16.
Mm-hmm.
I said then this game is over if if the Bengals can show some discipline because this is gonna be it right here. And when that ball was hyped and he threw that ball to that dude. I said, man, had he just waited for the ball to get to Rashee Rice and knock it out of his arms, once it got there, he bumped him. He bumped him like right before the ball got there to where you could clearly see Rashee Rice got knocked off of his mark. So it was like, oh man, dude. But no, I was not of the thinking like, oh man, Pat Mahomes, he still got a chance. No, when he took that sack on third down, I still did think so because I knew all he needed was a field goal. But when he got sacked on third down, I said, uh-oh, uh-oh, for real. So I gotta give Pat Mahomes credit. At the end of the day, he threw the ball that drew the pass interference. He got his team down the field. I don't like the way it went down. I don't like them having to win like that. But it's not like they won like that because a ref rigged anything or the ref cheated or anything. It's just I wish it wouldn't have ended like that for it to have been on a call by the
Mm-hmm.
refs. I guess is what I'll say. Not that
Mm-hmm.
they ultimately win because you play to win. You play
You
to
played
win by
again.
one, whatever. No
Mm-hmm.
matter what, as long as you win by one, that's all that matters. So
Mm-hmm.
I never poo poo a win. You know what I mean? But I mean the way it had to end, it was like, yeah, not too exciting. Not. I mean, for it to be a Bengals Chiefs game and for it to end similar the last way the Bengals in a Chiefs game ended in the playoffs, like
Mm-hmm.
like eerily similar. It's
Mm-hmm.
like, oh my goodness. But Chiefs survive
Mm-hmm.
and they move on next week. So gotta give the defending Super Bowl, two-time defending Super Bowl champs their props.
Yes,
Most definitely.
yes. My hat goes off to the coaching staff, and not only that, but the fourth round draft pick that we had playing safety that came up with a big fumble recovery. Not only did he come up with a big fumble recovery, he also got that big sack for us at the end of the game on Joe Burrow. The one
Yeah.
time that we blitzed a cornerback or a defensive back all game long, he came up with that big play. I didn't expect anything less out of that game. That game didn't disappoint me. It's the typical Kansas City Bengals game. Um, I mean, look at the last 6 games that we played them. All of them have been decided by 1 point. So that didn't change anything. And let me know that the Bengals are going to be competitive and they're going to be there at the end. And we're going to have to play them again, and the game may end up the same way. But we just have to keep our championship mentality and keep moving forward. Champions find a way to win. We found a way to win today. Bottom line, the Bengals did it.
Uh, I'll say this. They were that close without T. Higgins. They were that close without 100% healthy Jamar Chase. He was out there,
No,
but he
he's
wasn't
healthy.
100%.
He's healthy.
Oh,
Yeah, he's healthy. The only reason that he's been sitting
oh,
out is because of his contract negotiations. There's nothing wrong with Chase. You know what's wrong with Chase? He had 3 catches for 35 yards today. That's what happened to him. You know why? Because he's guarded by Trent McDuffie, who's going to be an all-pro cornerback this year. That's why he's so upset at that one call when he thought that McDuffie hip tossed him, because McDuffie had been handing it to him all game long. All game long. He's a shutdown corner, and they shut him down today. If it weren't for their tight ends, they had 3 tight ends who led them in receiving. Their top 3 receivers were tight ends. Would T. Higgins have made a difference? No, no. T. Higgins has never had a big game against us. It's always been Jamar Chase. Well, today
I
we didn't
push
have.
back on that. The reason why I push back on that is because when you got T. Higgins out there, he is a stud. When you got Jamar Chase out there with T. Higgins, Trent McDuffie is only one defensive back. Y'all don't have another superstar defensive back. We can both agree on that. Y'all do not have another superstar locked down, decent enough cover DBs, but not locked down like a L'Jarius Sneed was last year. So if you got T. Higgins, hold on. If you got T. Higgins out there, it does present, if you're gonna double Jamar Chase, which you did today, Trent
Mhm.
McDuffie was not one-on-one solo on an island all day with Jamar Chase. He was not. He had help over the top. On majority of the plays, he did have help over the top with Jamar Chase. At the end of the day, he still held them to 3 catches for 35 yards at the end of the day. But he was not, it was not a Revis Island. He wasn't a Revis Island type cornerback to where the majority of the game it was one-on-one. No.
I totally disagree with that. I totally disagree with that. 75% of the snaps today when Chase was going out for a pass, it was McDuffie one-on-one. You know why he had to be one-on-one?
No help over the top.
You,
I have to see the all
you
22.
know why he had to be, why he had to be one-on-one? Because they were using their tight ends so much. When they're using 3 tight ends and Chase, you got to bring those safeties down. You can't have a safety over the top end. So we trusted Trent McDuffie to guard him one-on-one, and he did that.
I just feel like without T. Higgins, it doesn't give in my opinion, it doesn't give a clear what it will look like
But you can
when you
also
have
say that about
another stud
Hollywood
on the
Brown.
other side.
But you
I
can
think it
also
would
say
present. I
you can
think
also
with T. Higgins, hold on. I think with T. Higgins being a stud that he is, with the way the tight ends were playing, because Burrow was finding those tight ends today,
Mhm.
I think that it would have been a lot more opened up, and I think the results would have been a little bit more different because they won by 1 point without those particular people. Without all that, without that one person, they lost by 1 point. I think with T. Higgins there, I think it presents them with being able to have a little bit more opportunities to score, whether it be with Jamar Chase or whether it be a little further downfield with the tight end. I
but
understand, but I understand where you're coming from, though.
but we're talking about what ifs. What if Hollywood Brown wasn't hurt?
That's true.
We're
I
talking about
seen
what
that
if.
earlier today.
What if Hollywood Brown wasn't hurt? Since we're speaking on what ifs.
Yeah, well, see, that's why you can't judge the first game that they play early in the season all like that because
Mhm.
one of their T. Higgins is out on one side, and your boy Hollywood Brown is out, but Hollywood Brown is I think out for the rest of the season from what I've seen.
For the
He's out
regular
for the rest
season.
of the season. So
Yeah.
you couldn't even possibly put it as a possible scenario for Hollywood Brown because he's out. T. Higgins, on the other hand, he will be coming back. So T. Higgins being added to the lineup, I do think that it does present it. I do think that it makes it a little bit more interesting, and I don't look at Kansas City as a hands down favorite. Meaning, I would put some of my money on Cincinnati if T. Higgins does come back. I would. I actually would because I seen what the way they showed up without him by barely missing a victory from a bonehead play from a defensive player. Yeah, I could see that. I could really see that.
But again,
I
we're
really
talking about
would.
we're talking about what ifs.
But
We're
that's all
talking
we
about what
can
ifs.
talk about. But that's all we can talk about what ifs now because the game is over and we're looking at
Mm-hmm.
it moving forward. So
Mm-hmm.
to your point though, it is what it is. The final results is what it was today. That's final.
Exactly.
You're right.
Exactly.
You're right about that.
Exactly.
But the what ifs has to come into play when you're looking at the people that the one glowing person that was missing from the Bengals roster today, in my opinion. That he's definitely a decent enough player to where it's like, he's just an okay player. No, T. Higgins, no, he's decent enough. I'll give him that. I ain't gonna make it seem like he's just a third wide receiver or not even a possible one or two. He's at least a good two. At
Yeah,
least a
I
good
agree with
two.
that. I
That's
agree
for
with that.
sure. So that's what I was saying. The last game for tonight's game was the Pittsburgh Steelers and the Denver Broncos. Not much scoring in that game. I think the total score was, I believe, 13-6. Uh, it seems like they're little bit by little bit maybe letting Justin Fields starting to do a little bit, but still seem like they had him handcuffed, man.
I
13
think that.
points this week, 16 points, 18 points last week.
Hmm.
Ugh,
But I
I
think
don't know.
that's all in Mike Tomlin and the way Mike Tomlin coaches. Everybody knows that Mike Tomlin is a gritty coach and he wins by any means necessary. Right now, they're developing a trust with Justin Fields because they haven't arrived with him when they planned all season long and all through camp to ride with Russell Wilson. They don't have that right now, so now they got to improvise. So they're spoon feeding him. They're spoon feeding him, and they're doing it little by little. I think he's going to get better as the season goes on, as long as he remains a starter. By the end of the season, I do see them as a contender because their defense is so solid, and they do have some good wide receivers, and they do got a good tight end. So as soon as they start trusting Fields more and game planning for Fields, not Russell Wilson, like have him doing the run pass options. They didn't do many of those today. And I think when you got Najee Harris at the running back, that needs to be one of your staple plays, a run pass option. When you got Washington as a big tight end, you got the wide receiver Pickens. You got all of these people around you. You got to do something
So,
that's going to get them safeties to come down. What's the first way to get those safeties to come down? Run pass option. Because everybody knows what Justin Fields can do with his feet. You have to develop him as a threat. He has to be a threat. Until they develop him as a threat, they may win every game by 7 points. They may win every game by a field goal. They may have a game where they only score field goals. But you got to start trusting them at some point.
in which they did have a game in which they only scored field goals the first game of the season.
Last
I
week,
mean, uh,
only field goals. But they are 2-0.
can't say
Baltimore,
that for. Go
Baltimore
ahead.
0-2. Cincinnati 0-2. Cleveland Browns 1-1. So right now, who's at the top of that division? That's supposed to be one of the toughest divisions in football this year. The Pittsburgh Steelers. The
Yeah.
Pittsburgh Steelers.
Well, that's the most competitive division in football. Let's be honest. That is the most
Yeah,
competitive, in my opinion, in all of football.
I agree. I agree. I
They
agree. But
use
in the most competitive division, who's leading it?
no. You gotta give them props for that.
And they've only
No matter
scored.
what
And
way
they've only scored.
they got there, right?
Exactly. And they've only scored one touchdown in 2 weeks, but they're also leading their division.
Man,
So
that
hey,
it says a lot about their competition, though. In my opinion, the Falcons, yeah, disappointment. The Broncos, tomato can, bottom feeder. So it's like, you got to start it off. You got a little bit of a favorable schedule for the most part to start out the season. You know what I mean? You're no powerhouse team, so to get a couple of inferior talent, in my opinion, to start out the season. The Falcons, I felt like you were kind of even. The Steelers and the Falcons were kind of even, but I mean, today, I mean, really? the Broncos with Bo Nix. The guy just can't get out of his own. When you see quarterbacks you say to yourself, dang, they were decent enough in college. They get to the pros. He looks like a deer in headlights still
The game
for
is
the
fast
most
for him,
part.
man. The game is fast for him. Bo Nix was literally bred for this, bred to be an NFL quarterback. The game's fast for him right now. He just has to catch up. I think he's going to be okay. I don't ever think he's going to be a top 10 quarterback. No, but I think he's going to be okay. He'll turn it around. Do I think they're going to win the division? Of course not, because they're in the same division as the Chiefs. Do I think they're going to be second? Nah. Do I think they'll go 500? Maybe. Maybe. Because they still have a good defense. And if they can ever get it all going at one time, Bo Nix be Bo Nix. But then you got a question: is Sean Payton that good of a coach?
I don't know, man. I don't know. He only had one quarterback his entire tenure as a coach. For the most
Drew
part, he had
Brees.
Drew Brees,
Yep.
which was one of the greatest quarterbacks in my
Yep.
opinion, especially short quarterbacks. He has
Yeah.
to be top two. He has to be definitely in the top two of short quarterbacks of all time, in my opinion.
Definitely.
That's for
Definitely.
sure. But so you had him. So he never really had, in my opinion, he never really had to deal with another quarterback of a different skill set, to kind of try to adjust to
Mm-hmm.
and teach his type of coaching to. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
With this year, but with last year with Russell Wilson was like oil and water.
Yeah.
This year with Bo Nix, it just seems like that guy don't know that playbook. He don't know how to adjust to that playbook. The speed of the game, like you said, is too fast for him. It
Mm-hmm.
seems like it's a number of different things. Because the man, honestly, I watched some of that game intently, that Broncos Steelers game, and I said, man, Bo Nix he looks all out of sorts. Is he reading the coverage?
Mm-hmm.
Can he legitimately read the coverage a little bit better than that?
But
See,
but
I guess when I look at CJ Stroud and I see the way he reads coverages, and I see as a rookie last year, it's possible. But to your point, generational talents only come every so often.
there you go.
So
And not only that, but what is
yeah,
Mike Tomlin? What has Mike Tomlin always been known for in Pittsburgh? His defense.
yeah,
He's one of the best defensive-minded coaches out there. So you don't think he's going to put together a defense to go against a rookie quarterback who he knows really ain't got a strong arm? We just got to keep him in the pocket and
yeah,
make him make throws. You don't think Mike Tomlin figured it out going into this game?
definitely looks like it.
Look like it.
Man,
Looks like it.
ugh,
And he picked Sean Payton apart. They,
yes.
they only scored 13 points, and you're not even competitive in that game.
Not even.
You're never competitive in that game at all. And they only scored 13 points, Corey. Sooner or later, we're gonna start giving Mike Tomlin his credit for making chicken salad out of chicken shit.
Talk about it.
Sooner or
I'm
later, we're
with you
gonna
when
give
you're
that man
right.
credit. That man is making chicken salad out of chicken shit, and he has for several years now. Sooner or later, we're gonna start giving him credit.
When you can still have a 500 record with Mason Rudolph and all these other no
Three
Kenny
different quarterbacks
Pickett
last year:
and
Mason Rudolph. What was the kid? Kenny
Kenny
Pickett.
Pickett.
Then they had another guy start at one point. Sooner or later, we're gonna give this man his credit
Oh
because he
yeah,
almost made it to the
yeah,
playoffs.
yeah, yeah. I completely agree with that. I completely agree. I think the Steelers will make it to the playoffs this year. It's 2 games in, but I'll go out on a limb and definitely say they'll make it to the playoffs. You know what I
I'll
mean?
go out on a limb and say they're gonna be 500, above 500, but making it to the playoffs is gonna be tough in that division because you still have Baltimore, you still have Cincinnati. The way Cleveland played today, Cleveland looked pretty good. So making it to the playoffs, like you said, it's only 7 spots, and 4 of those
But
are
you're two
dedicated to
games.
division leaders.
Early in the season, you're already 2 games up. So
Yep.
these other 3 teams, one of them is a game back. One of them is two. Two of them are 2 games back. So yeah, they might make a little leap headway to
Mhm.
possibly challenge you for that. but they still got to chase behind you because you're still
Mhm.
ahead. So if you can keep pace, if you can keep decent enough, if you can still bust out those gritty wins, those 13-10s, those 16-6 wins, then
Mhm.
it don't matter the way you get it. It just matters
I
that you
agree.
got it.
I agree. A W
So,
is a W, no matter which way you write it. A W is a W.
so that's why I just feel like that's why I feel like they'll Pittsburgh will still they'll squeak in, even if it's with the seventh spot. I think they'll still squeak in, even
They
if
may.
the
They
Ravens
may.
come back and you know,
It
even
wouldn't
if the
surprise
Ravens
me if
come
they
back.
did. It wouldn't surprise me if they did. That is Mike Tomlin. I'm a huge Mike Tomlin supporter, so it would not surprise me if they did. I just think the AFC. Then again, it's just the second week. I can't see, man. I'm willing to go out there and say the AFC looks really, really tough this year. But like I said, it's only the second week. We'll see how everything transpires. We'll see, say early November, how everybody's looking.
hmm Looking at this Texans Bears game, I didn't expect for it to be this close. I mean, it's not super duper close, but they're only down by 9 points. I didn't expect. I thought they'd be up by about a couple of touchdowns. The Texans myself.
That's what I keep peeking over at this game. But you know, the Chicago Bears actually revamped their entire defense, revamped their team. So I do think they're supposed to be a lot better than what they are, but they do have some superstars. They have a really good gritty defense. It's not surprising me that the Texans are in this kind of game with them. The Texans are controlling the game, but I expect the Bears to show up and I expect them to give everybody a run for their money. Do I think they're going to be one of the superior teams in the NFC? No, but I think they'll play very, very well. They got too much money invested in that team with too many really good veterans and too many really good young guys to not. So I definitely think they're going to be okay. Now, do I think the Bears are going to make it to the playoffs? They're in the same division as Green Bay and Detroit. Green Bay won today with a backup quarterback that only threw 7 passes. Mm.
And that's one of the things I didn't talk about. Were the Packers winning without Jordan Love? I think I put it down here, but I think I forgot to mention it. Packers winning without Jordan Love.
Hmm.
In Green Bay, yes, it was at home, but I ain't gonna lie. Yeah, I chose them in my football pool, but did I really think that they were gonna pull it out against the Colts? Hell no. I ain't gonna lie. Hell
Man,
no.
I thought the fact that the Colts played Houston last week, and it was a game all the way down to the last minute. I expected a lot more out of the Colts today. I was disappointed in the Colts today. I was very disappointed in the Colts today, man. I thought they were going to have a better showing considering how they played the Houston last week. But Houston has also only scored 19 points tonight. So,
There you go. Sometimes
they say
everything
no
kind of
gravy.
all. Sometimes things kind of show up and all link up, and it all
Yeah,
makes sense.
yeah.
As
But
the
also
season
know
progresses.
a lot of people have already picked Green Bay to make it to the Super Bowl.
I ain't gonna go out on a limb and say Jordan Love is that talented of a quarterback and he has that great a receiving core or anything like that. He's decent though, but I'm not gonna
Considering considering how they ended the season last year,
against my
um,
49ers.
yeah, um, and the way that the 49ers look, um, the way that Detroit look,
Mm.
um, it all depends on how Jordan Love comes back. It all depends on how he comes back because they have a Super Bowl roster.
Mm.
Tell me where they bad.
Name a
The thing,
linebacker.
I can name a couple of them. The kid that got drafted last year out of Georgia, number 7.
What's his name? What's his name? I
Um,
don't know. He ain't been making noise to where I see his name flashing across the screen.
you watch a full game of him, you'll know him. I don't remember his name, but he's number 7, comes from Georgia. And then you still got a really good defensive backfield. Man, the Green Bay set up to win a Super Bowl. If Jordan Love comes up, they won today without Jordan Love. So how it's not just a quarterback, it's a team effort. Those guys, Green Bay's good.
To be fair to the Indianapolis Colts, they don't have no all world wide receivers, no all pro wide receivers there. You got Richardson as a quarterback, but he's making chicken salad out of chicken shit as well in Indianapolis. How competitive he was with the tech against the Texans last week.
Mm-hmm.
Please name their top wide receiver in Indianapolis. You can't name them.
Michael Pittman Jr.
Michael Pittman Jr. Okay.
Michael Pittman
He's
Jr.
not a number one to me. He's not a number one. He's not. I'm gonna
I
push
would
back.
put him on the
He's
I would
not
put
a
him on the
number
same
one.
level as T. Higgins. Yes.
Number two. I said T Higgins was a two. I didn't say even T Higgins was a one. I said T
Okay.
Higgins was a two.
Okay.
No, no,
All
no,
right.
no, no. I can't. I
Okay.
can't. Yeah, I can't. But decent enough. I'm not gonna poo Michael Pittman. He is
Mm-hmm.
not a scrub. He's
Mm-hmm.
no slouch at wide receiver. So to your point, I'm not gonna denigrate him like that. But we're talking about a number one receiver to when you mention his name, it's like the ears perk up and you say, oh, wow. Oh, dang, he got a number one. When you hear Michael Pittman Jr., it's like, oh, who's that? Oh, he plays for, okay. He made a couple big plays last year. Okay. But he wasn't no 1,500-yard receiver. He
No.
wasn't no 10 plus touchdown in a season receiver. He wasn't. I mean, so
But
decent enough,
will you ever
a
have a
high number
receiver
two,
like that?
but
Will you ever have a receiver like that for Indianapolis as long as Jonathan Taylor's there?
running back.
Yep.
Mhm. Why wouldn't you have a decent wide? Why couldn't you get a wide receiver because you got a decent running back there? Why couldn't you get
Because
him?
between him and Anthony Richardson, you know they're gonna run the ball. You know they're gonna run the ball. So they need one receiver to get open. From time to time, it ain't even got to be a stud receiver, just like
Okay,
Michael Pittman did last season. That's why I
I
put
see
him
what
on
you're
the same
saying.
platform as a T. Higgins, because T. Higgins would be a number one wide receiver in Indianapolis' system. Because you're only going to get targeted maybe 6 times a game because they're going to try to keep the ball on the ground. That's the strength.
Yeah, that
That's
is their
their strength.
strength. Man.
The offensive line is a run blocking offensive line. That's their strength.
Yeah.
So when you know that's their strength, and then you got Jonathan Taylor, and then you got this quarterback who's 6'5", 240 pounds, and looked like somebody drew him with a marker.
I'm telling you.
Hey, man, I'm gonna run the ball too. I just need Michael Pittman to get open 6 times a game, 6 times a game, and I'm gonna make sure the ball's there.
I level with you there. I guess he's decent enough. Still not number one to me, but again,
Yeah,
I guess he's
I can
decent
agree with that
enough.
as well. Now, I can agree he's
Yeah.
number one for them, but would he be a number one on any other team? That's hard. I don't know. I can't answer that.
Yeah. Hey, well, hey man, hey guys, everybody out there. I told you I was committed to bringing you guys more content more consistently, especially on Sunday nights. Tried to make that true here today. Um, People have lives, you know. I got a wife and two kids, you know, that I gotta take care of throughout the day. Even though I'm off from work today, the work doesn't stop when you have a family. Todd, he has his family, you know.
Yeah,
He had to deal with getting maybe tattoos and he has a life, you know, he has a
yeah.
life. You know what I mean? So we got to kind of work around all those things and whatnot. But I'm trying to consistently come to you guys every Sunday at least halftime during Sunday night football, just to give you guys a decent enough analysis and
Mhm.
reaction to today's games and what was the goings on or whatnot. And
You know what, Corey? Let's go ahead and
go
lock
ahead,
that
big
in
guy.
right now so that we're not communicating outside of the live. Every Sunday during the halftime of the Sunday night game, we're gonna do this. That way, you
Okay.
and I never have to guess. You know what I mean? That way, you don't have to say,
Right.
"Hey, man, are you available?" We're gonna know each other's available at that time. And not only that, but the people that are watching this that want to watch it live can have a set time every Sunday that they're gonna watch it. Because we get
Yeah.
a lot of our viewers after the fact, not while we're going on live at the time. They watch it after the fact. So we can give them some kind of analysis and have some people join in live with us, and maybe they have some comments that we can reply to and reflect on and talk a little bit deeper into the sport. So we're gonna set a time for every Sunday at halftime of the Sunday night game. We're gonna go, and then we also need to do one, say, on a Monday, just to go ahead and go through the rest of the Sunday night game and the first half of the Monday night game.
Well, Mondays. Well, I got a format here. I got my little format here
Okay.
as it pertains to the to the days, the Sunday and then the Monday show or
Mm-hmm.
whatnot. And the Monday is going to be basically the hot topics that have been discussed or been talked about early that morning or whatnot. The hot topics concerning certain teams and what is the thought process there, as well as the Monday Night Football preview slash recap or
Mm-hmm.
whatnot.
Okay.
Depending on what time we go on Mondays, and I'm still working that out to get that with you. But depends on what time. And just real quick, let me see if I can. Just real quick in real time. Let me see if I can see it real quick. If I can't find it, then it's okay. Oh, I did find it. Okay, so Mondays, yeah, I'm looking to go on from 7:15 to 8 o'clock, and
Okay.
that's when we'll deal with our hot topics and the Monday Night Football preview. Um, I just got down here really Sunday, Monday, and Thursday. You know
Okay.
what I mean?
Okay.
Saturday is so because that's when I really want to just do the NFL Sunday preview of
Mm-hmm.
the upcoming games that are coming up and what we think at
Okay.
least our analysis of what we think, and that's from like 9:30 to 10:30 on Saturday night. Try to do
Okay.
this what you were just talking about halftime on Sundays of the games between usually halftime is like 9:45 because the game starts at 8:15. So usually
Mm-hmm.
halftime is like from 9:45 to 10:15 and whatnot. Maybe we'll
Okay.
go a little past 10:15, but just give you guys an idea of when we will be. These are tentative, but we're going to be trying to meet these times though. Every
Yeah.
Sunday around 9:45, around halftime, you come right here to Coy Sports Corner. Coy and Todd Peterson, TP, we're going to be discussing the games. Monday, when you come here between 7:15 and 8 o'clock, we're going to be discussing the hot topics that
Over
we
the
took
over the
from
weekend.
basically from the weekend, as well as our Monday Night Football preview again.
Okay.
And Thursday, something new I'm adding. Thursday, I'm looking to add this whenever we can get time, but I am looking to add it in if we can. Thursday from 7:30 to 8:15, Thursday Night Football preview, as well as any thoughts we may have of the upcoming big collegiate football games that may
Mm-hmm.
be facing off, just the major ones, just the ones
Yeah.
that are definitely going to have us talking and whatnot. I just wanted to add that in just to provide a little bit more content and not just NFL, but a little bit of college. You know what I
Yes.
mean?
Yes.
That is noteworthy at least.
Yes.
You know. So and Saturday, like I said, to top off the week, Saturdays from 9:30 p.m. to 10:30, the NFL Sunday preview of the upcoming week. So
Got
guys. So, guys, this is my guy. This is my co-host Todd Peterson. He has obviously graduated from special guest to one of my co-hosts now. When you help provide almost 800 impressions with a click-through rate of almost 4%, we're doing okay. I'll take that.
Let's
I'll
keep
take
it going.
that.
And it's only going to get better now that we have that agenda and we have set times. Because now mentally I can be
Absolutely.
ready. You know what I mean? So mentally, me being prepared, you being prepared, I'm on the same level as you are, and we're both prepared coming into it. It's only going to get better from here. So y'all tune in. Y'all tune in. We're going to have something for you guys all
Absolutely.
football season long. I promise you that.
Thank you for that, TP. All right, guys. We will actually be back tomorrow night. Speaking of what we were just saying, we're gonna try to keep up with our time for you guys. So tomorrow night, 7:15 is the scheduled time. I'm looking to do this between 7:15 to 8 o'clock. We're gonna try to keep it up in between that time realm. But yeah, come back tomorrow for hot topics and our Monday Night Football preview. Hey, that's it for tonight. I'm Coy here at Sports Corner. Ugh, I'm talking all over myself. Coy here at Sports Corner signing off with my guy TP Todd Peterson. Anything else you want to say, Todd, before we sign off?
Not a
All right,
thing, Coy.
guys.
I appreciate you. Appreciate everybody. You guys tune in. We got something good for you guys coming up all football season. Tune in and act and be active with us. Let's talk about some things.
Our chat is always open. Just letting you
Yes,
guys
sir.
know. I have opened up the chat. Please be respectful, though. But hey, let us know your feelings at the same time. Please let us know
Got
your
you.
feelings.
Yes,
All
sir.
right, man. Take care, Todd. Again, appreciate you. Everybody out there that's watched or everybody that's going to watch. Thank you, everybody. Signing off. Take care.
Thank you, guys.